Welcome to the Faith and Feelings podcast. My name is Taylor Joy, and I'm passionate about helping you untangle and honor your emotions, authentically practice your faith, and integrate both into your everyday life so that you can experience the goodness and delight that comes from living in relationship with yourself, God, and others. Thank you for joining me. Let's get started. In his book, The Soul of Shame, author and psychiatrist Curt Thompson writes, "We all are born into the world looking for someone looking for us, and we remain in this mode of searching for the rest of our lives. But we all have those experiences of being unseen, unchosen, when care was not given, when no one came. Somewhere along the way, many of us learned to stop listening to our gut instincts. We learned to grit it out and turn off the messages of our healthy needs. We stopped crying out. We no longer asked for help because we didn't want to be a burden on others, or we didn't expect anyone to respond." This conversation with my friend Kylie is just so beautiful. Through her story, she names a deep-seated belief running through many of our stories. Asking for help doesn't change anything. You have to do it on your own anyway. We process the ways that not asking for help can become a learned trait, and when carried into adulthood, fuel patterns of striving, exhaustion, and inadequacy. We also talk about the ways that Kylie is learning to trust in God's rest, responsiveness, and delight. As always, if you enjoy this conversation, I'd be so grateful if you took a minute to rate and review the podcast. Before we jump in, I wanted to read a recent review from Apple Podcasts. This is from KPayne12. "I found this podcast through Proverbs 31 Ministries. It has been so helpful and healing for me. I've really enjoyed listening. The latest series, Why on Earth Did I Say or Do That?, has spoken right to me. I've resonated with everything that's been said, especially the one about growing up too fast. Thank you." Your words mean so much to me, KPayne12. Thank you. Leaving your rating and review is an easy way to partner with me and is invaluable in reaching new listeners. So let's go now to my conversation with Kylie. Well, welcome to Faith and Feelings, Kylie. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Well, we are in a series right now called Why on Earth Did I Do or Say That? And in this series, I'm inviting different guests to share and process a story of when their emotional response to a situation was a 7 or 8 on a scale when it was warranted a 2 or 3. We all have so many moments like this, but we don't often pause and reflect on what's underneath these responses or connect the dots between these everyday reactions and deeper themes in our stories. When I was thinking about the people that I'd love to have on, I thought about you.
Thanks.
You live in Chiang Mai, Thailand, near my family, and I always love the evenings that you come over when I'm home for Christmas. I know that over the last few years, we've both been on a similar journey of getting to know our stories and understanding how it's shaping who we are today. So Kylie, to get started, would you mind sharing a story of when you were emotionally dysregulated?
Yes. It's honestly kind of a funny story. So as you mentioned, I live in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm obviously not from there. I'm from America, from Kansas. But I've lived there for 3 years now, and this story took place only a couple of months ago. So I've lived here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I should be able to live functionally. But my friend who lives across the street from me and I decided that we were going to start doing this meal trade where we would both cook a meal and share it, and then every week we would have home cooked meals with each other. But we didn't have to cook every night, kind of thing. Anyways, so I found this new recipe that I was really excited about. That was this lentil curry, and it looked so delicious, and it was only supposed to take 30 minutes.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I never ate it. Preview, but it sounded so good. It said it was only supposed to take 30 minutes to prepare. I really don't cook that often, so I always know it's going to take a little longer than they say, but not as long as it did. So I go to the grocery store, I buy all the stuff. Remember, I'm in Thailand. A lot of things are Thai. Also, I was kind of in a hurry that day. So often when I go to the grocery store, I go like to like almost like the Farong store or like where foreigners would go. So you're like buying imported things. So I'm used to like being pretty comfortable in the store and like knowing exactly what I want. But this time I went to a local market because it was closer to my house, cheaper, and I only needed like 5 things. But one of the things I needed was lentils, like already cooked lentils, that I was just gonna add to the curry at the end. Couldn't find them anywhere. And the closest thing that I could find, well, actually, I kind of thought that I found them. I found this like big bag that looked like lentils, but I was like, could be beans, could be lentils. What's the difference, really? I'm not sure. Other people probably know. I, again, don't cook. So I was like, this should be fine. Like, it's close enough. So I buy all my ingredients, or I think I do. Go home. I start cooking. First of all, I'm like prepping my meal for so long. Like, I have to cut so many things, and most like it's supposed to take like, I don't know, a minute to cut an onion. It's like taking me so long. Like, I'm just so bad at cooking. And then I'm already getting frustrated with myself because I'm like, why can't I do this? Like, this is not hard. Like, I should be able to cook one meal for myself. So finally, it's literally been like 2 hours. Like it has taken me so long to cut everything, and like also just living in Thailand is just sometimes annoying. Like for example, I'm making rice. I have a rice cooker, but it's calling for like vegetable broth. Okay, you can't buy just like already made vegetable broth in Thailand like you could here in a can. So you have to buy these like little squares and then boil water and then let it sit and then mix it all in. And it's like 5 extra steps for one added ingredient. And that's just an example. So like it's taken me so long to get all of this stuff ready. And so I'm like literally 2 hours into the preparation of this like singular meal, literally. And I'm already just like so annoyed. And the last two steps are to add the bean or no, lentils. It's supposed to be lentils, but it's beans. Add the lentils and let it simmer for like 15 minutes on the stove to like let them, I don't know what they're supposed to do. And to like saute onions at the same time that are going to be like a garnish. Okay, so I pour the lentils in to the thing and I'm letting that simmer. Everything's fine over there for now. And then the steps, I'm not kidding, my instructions specifically said turn on your burner, let the pan get hot while you cut your onions so that when you put them in, like it's already warm and you can start sauteing them. Normal, right? Too bad I'm extremely slow at cutting onions, and Thai stoves are really hot. Like low setting just does not exist. So I'm cutting my onions. By the time I'm done, I don't know this, but my pot is like really hot. So I go in to pour oil into my pan and literal flames. I wish I was exaggerating on that, but literal flames like the size of my forearm, like literally this tall, just erupt in my kitchen. And so naturally I start screaming because I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a fire. Like I have created a ginormous fire in my kitchen. But like somehow, honestly, thank God, I remember that like oil fires, I'm not supposed to put water on them. So I'm like, I know I'm not supposed to douse this with water, but I don't know what I am supposed to do. Like water, no. But what is yes? Unsure.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I just need to get it out of my house. Like that was my solution. So I like grab the handle of the pan that is like very much on fire and I go outside, out the back door, and I like walk into the street into my neighborhood.
Oh.
And my neighbor, my Thai neighbor, so nice usually. I'm like literally holding fire in my hand and I'm yelling like, help, help, help. And he just stares at me. Okay, like even if you don't speak English, you see a girl with fire, like you know that she needs out and she's screaming, like, come on. And he literally just stares at me. And I'm just like staring at him, yelling with this fire. But like I don't know what I expected him to do. I don't know. I was emotionally dysregulated. So I ended up just putting the pan down in the middle of the street and just like started praying, being like, God, like, can you please help me? Because I don't know what to do here. the fire eventually burned up all of the oil, so it was fine, but my pan was like completely singed. Like I had to throw it away. That's fine. So, okay, we're throwing the sauteed onions out. I've lost my one other pan that I own to an actual fire. And I'm already just like, this is such a disaster. Like, I'm so mad. Like, it's taken me over 2 hours now to cook this meal that was supposed to be 30 minutes. Like, this better be the best curry that I've ever tasted, even without onions in my head. Like, come on. And I go back inside and like the 15 minutes of simmering has definitely already happened. And so I like taste the curry and the lentils are hard as a rock. Like I'm gonna break my tooth on it. And I'm like, no, this can't be. So I'm like, it just needs more time. So I add a little bit more coconut milk. I'm like, I'm gonna let it simmer 15 more minutes. Okay, I do that. Still hard as a rock. And I'm just like, I have no idea what to do. I figure out they're beans and like I look it up and they were supposed to have soaked for like 24 hours in water before I ever started cooking because they were just like, yeah, hard beans. And I didn't do that. I poured them directly in, but they're literally everywhere. Like it's like the main ingredient. And so the entire curry is ruined. Like completely ruined. Can't eat and cannot eat any of it. And I can only eat the white rice that I made in a rice cooker that took, I literally, well, actually, I made the vegetable broth, but like that's all that I can eat. And I'm expected at my friend's house, like with this fully cooked meal, like an hour ago now. And I just have to go over there and with plain white rice and be like, I'm so sorry. And so I just like started sobbing, like honestly, uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Like yeah, sobbing. Like, and I went over to
Mhm.
my friend Caitlin's house with white rice, and I'm just like literally crying uncontrollably. And she's so confused because, like, she doesn't know any of this has
Yeah.
happened, and she's expecting a full meal, and she sees white rice and me just like hysterical. And I don't know. As I have reflected on that, I understand like the yelling and the initial crying, but like I continued to be upset about it for quite a long time. Like over the next like week, maybe even two, like I'd randomly like think about it and just like start crying. It never was like an
Hmm.
uncontrollable sob again, but it was like I cried over this like burnt curry so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, that's my story of the inedible curry. The
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing that. It is bringing so many memories to mind of
Oh,
growing up as an
yeah,
MK in Asia.
yeah.
Yeah, so many memories. So when you think about that moment of wanting to make the curry and it taking so much longer than
Mhm.
expected, and then, then the fire situation, and then going to Caitlin's house and sobbing. You mentioned
Mhm.
frustration. You mentioned feeling overwhelmed. What other emotions were you feeling during that story?
Yeah, definitely frustration. I was so overwhelmed. I think I was disappointed, like, but like, or just sad, like deeply sad. Like, I, I was disappointed in myself that I couldn't do something that seemed
Mhm.
like an easy task. I was frustrated with like cultural issues of Thailand. Like, I want to just make myself a meal, and like, why is that so hard?
Yeah.
So like I was sad, I was frustrated, I was a little bit homesick because I'm like, I can cook. Like in my family's home, like I know I can successfully make like so many things. Like why can't that translate? So like I'm feeling homesick, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling almost like I don't know, worthless is really strong. Like I don't think I felt that strongly of like feeling like worthlessness, but just like this like self I don't know, anger or like
Inadequacy.
inadequacy. Yeah, I felt inadequate
Yeah.
and I did not like that feeling. And then just yeah, like sad that I disappointed my friends, sad that I disappointed myself, like angry that I have to yet again order food to be delivered to my home, even though I just spent 3 hours making this. And then I was also like, there are so many emotions going on, but like Sunday is like I try to really take seriously to like Sabbath and rest. And Like I spent my entire, like after I got home from church, my entire afternoon and evening was like spent on this meal that I then could not make because I had to go drive to the grocery store. Like, and I just felt like I
Yeah.
wasted so much time. And like my job is, I love it, but it's pretty exhausting. I'm a teacher. And so like I need rest. And I've worked really hard to like give myself space to rest. And then I just was like so mad. I was like, I just wasted like 6 hours and I can't even eat it. Like I didn't rest. I was frustrated. I was angry. I was like anxious. And now like all for what? Um, yeah. So that's a lot of emotions, but I think I was honestly feeling all of those.
Yeah. When you think about specifically that feeling of being disappointed or angry at
Mm-hmm.
yourself, how long do you think you'd been feeling that way? Was it just that day?
Mm-hmm.
Was it a week? Was it a month? Was it a year?
I think that has been an underlying emotion in my brain forever. Um, I think it is especially highlighted in moments that I'm not successful at things that I should be, or I think that I measure my worth like from the things that I'm able to accomplish, and that's something me and God are working on together.
Hmm.
But I think that that
Yeah.
is a pattern in my story of like I need to do all of these things. I need to be good. I need to be perfect. I need to be great. I need to accomplish all of this to like have worth. Um, and my, as I mentioned, I'm a teacher, and a lot of times throughout the week, I did not feel adequate or good enough, and just often feel overwhelmed in that sense of like, oh wow, yeah, I'm not doing this to the best that I can be, and so therefore I have to be disappointing people and myself. Um, and so I think I had been feeling it more heightened like since moving to Thailand, so like 3 years,
Hmm.
but honestly, it like flares up. It's really, it's not like, it's not my predominant feeling ever, but it can easily, yeah, like flare up in moments of high stress or when I
Yeah.
feel disappointed.
Yeah. I'm just envisioning you holding that pot of rice,
Hmm.
sobbing.
Hmm.
You mentioned that you kept on crying,
Hmm.
and the longer that you kept crying, the less you understood your
Hmm.
tears. What did you feel about that feeling of sadness and those tears the longer you cried and didn't understand them?
Hmm. I, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think that I have a tendency to like kind of laugh it off, like when
Mm,
I am over emotional, which happens a lot, I like cry randomly or cry too much at things that aren't like that most people wouldn't cry about. And I think that my immediate coping mechanism is just to like laugh more with myself. Like I don't feel like I'm being like self-deprecating necessarily, but am just like, oh my gosh, okay, my emotions are out of control again. Like, so I think I started to like, yeah, almost like make a joke out of it. Like, oh, I'm still
mhm,
crying about my curry from 2 weeks ago. Like, okay, Kylie, like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about all of those emotions, I'm just hearing the anxiety, the anger, the
Hmm.
disappointment at yourself. Can you pinpoint what was beneath that?
Mm, I don't know if I could say what's beneath that, but I think the strongest emotion is definitely that like feeling of inadequacy or like my
Mm,
desire to be
mhm.
good and do what is right and like yeah, be productive and then not that being missed. I think is like the underlying or like biggest emotion that then leads to like I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, I'm anxious, I'm sad,
Yeah.
all because I'm
Yeah.
feeling inadequate.
And having that
Yeah.
similar drive to want to be good, to want to do everything right, I can just imagine.
Hmm.
I mean, because this situation wasn't just like, it was literally explosions of fire,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
it's so painful. It's so painful.
Hmm.
As you reflect back on that time, what was happening in your body? What were some of the physical sensations you were feeling?
So much. I think I don't know. My body was just holding a lot of anxiety. Like it was like physically holding the stress and the tension of like like literal fires to be putting out, but also I have to go work on that, like too many things happening at once. Like I can't keep up with it. I'm supposed to be on this time thing, but it's actually not important, the timer, but like my recipe is telling me it should be taking this long. Why is it taking me so much longer? Like just like physically like tensing up and like feeling like
Yeah.
so overwhelmed, you know. So yeah, I can like even as I tell the story again, like I can feel the tension like coming back. Like my palms feel a little
Sweaty.
sweaty and there's like tension in my neck and I'm like, no, it's not actually happening right now. But I would say that that was similar physical response at the time of just like feeling really overstimulated, my body like almost freezing, like tensing up. And yeah.
Yeah. What were some of the thoughts rolling around in your mind?
I think while it was happening, I wasn't processing like as I went. I was just like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. Oh, that's harder than I thought. But like if you just get it done, like similar thoughts to what I have throughout the week of like do this, this, and this, and you'll fix the problem is like
Yeah.
kind of how my brain works. And so during it, that's what I was doing. I was like, no, like just keep going, like keep trying, you'll fix it. Like, oh, that's fine, no onions, no problem. We'll just work with what we have. Like
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, keep trying type of thing. But then at the end, when it like was officially this all has to be thrown out, yeah, that's when just like because I hadn't processed any of those emotions while it was happening, like frustration, disappointment, anxiety. Once it all fell apart, it was like just like a tsunami of like so many emotions all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep going back and thinking about that moment when you're standing outside with the pan on fire and your neighbor. And I can just feel that I need help and no one's helping me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about that moment, what do you think you wanted most?
I don't know. I've actually thought about that before because I'm like, I don't know what I was expecting him to do. Like, why in my mind he like knew exactly what to do about this giant fire. I have no idea. So I think yeah, it's more of that deeper question of like, I want someone to like see the struggle that I'm having and try to help
Yeah.
me. Like, even, yeah. Also, like, just in my story, I sometimes have a hard time asking for help. Actually, I usually have a hard time asking for help. Um, and so it's like it takes hard work for me to say, like, I need help, I'm struggling in this. And so I think in that moment, like in my mind, I was really clearly asking for help from someone. I don't have emotional, like, I'm not close with this person. But I think it was really, I'm only really now putting this together, but I think that that was really solidifying in my mind. Like, asking for help doesn't change anything. Like, you have to do it on your own, anyways. Like, because I'm asking this person for help. I have literal fire in my hands, basically. And I'm like screaming for help, and he's just staring at me. Yeah. So I think that later that solidifies, like, why ask for help? No one,
Yeah.
no one's going to come help you.
Yeah.
It's up to you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Do you remember the earliest time you felt that way?
I honestly don't remember the earliest time feeling like asking for help wasn't helpful, but I do remember just like as a child, really specifically being like, no, I can do this. Like, I don't want to ask for help. Like, I didn't ever want to feel like I was in the way, or like, I felt like everybody had so much going on that I needed to be like perfect and good and like handle myself because they had other things to deal with, like other more important things. But I don't remember like what started that, or like, yeah, a moment that I asked for help that I didn't get it that then led me to doing that. But I do remember like, yeah, that was definitely my coping mechanism, was like, no, I'm going to be self-sufficient. Like, I'm 7 years old. I'm not helping. I'm not asking for help. Like, I can do it. And so, yeah, I'm not sure.
If you just picture 7-year-old Kylie in your mind, who is learning that asking for help wasn't really helpful, what do you feel when you think about her?
Oh, I have so much empathy for her. Yeah. I just want to hug her and be like, you are loved and you're cherished, and like, you're not allowing yourself to see it. Like, there are so many people around you that love and cherish you. Like, and also tell her, like, it's going to be okay. Like, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Like, it's going to be okay. But I have so, like, I'm in counseling right now, and we've been doing a lot of my story stuff. And so, yeah, if we had this interview like a year ago, I would have a different answer. But right now, I have so much empathy for child Kylie, little me.
A year ago, what do you think your response towards her would have been?
Frustration, I think. I think I'm really currently like in the process of like digging out the roots of my emotional responses, or really just like my responses to life and how I relate to people. Um, and I think, yeah, I think a year ago I would have been really frustrated at her. Like, you didn't do it good enough. Like, you tried and tried and you didn't do it. Like, you couldn't be self-sufficient. And I would have been frustrated with her because that was how I was feeling at that time too. Like, I'm trying and trying and trying and I can't be good enough and I can't do it no matter how hard I try. So like, this has been true forever. But now I'm like, no, that's not true. Like, you're just loved the way that you are, and you've always been loved and always been pursued, and like, look at these people around you that love and cherish you. And yeah, I have so much empathy for childhood me that didn't see that and didn't recognize that, and was trying to take on all of these things I didn't need to take on. Yeah,
What do you think God might have wanted 7-year-old Kylie to know?
I think God throughout my whole life has just been inviting me to trust
Mm,
him and his goodness and his love for me and for everyone around me. And so I think he would have, yeah, really just like, I don't know, I imagine him just like kind of scooping me up like little girl me, so little, and just being like, no, you are loved, like, you are cherished, like, you are being pursued, and you are worth, like,
mm,
you're worth the time and the space that you take up. And like, I love you and I will help you. But also look at these people that I've provided for you that also love and like want to help you. Like, yeah, I think
mm.
that's
So
probably.
beautiful. Yeah. This has been such a good conversation. Thank you for sharing what you have
Yeah.
today. As a final question, I am curious to know what you've been learning recently about staying emotionally grounded in hard spaces.
Honestly, so much. I've been learning so much lately. I think, kind of like I mentioned earlier, my tendency is more to like laugh it off or say, like, no, that's not important. Um, like, your feelings aren't worthy. You don't need to take up that much space. Like, it's actually fine. And so my nature is just like to stuff all of these negative feelings and like never let them out. And then it comes to moments like I'm describing where just like I can't keep it all in anymore and it just explodes. Like, yeah. And through my life, that's happened in a lot of different spaces. But I think, like, as a young adult, I learned how to like manipulate them even more, to like allow the explosion of feelings to come like in books or movies that are like incredibly sad or give a lot of anxiety, so that like I could have an outward emotional response, but I could, like, to the people around me and to me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm crying because this movie is really sad. But actually, my body is just like needing a release of like all of the sadness or all of the anger that it's been feeling. So I'm feeling it stronger than everyone else, and then like kind of laughing that off. But I think that that was like a coping mechanism of mine that
Hmm.
now I'm realizing, like, okay, in these moments, like, it is a really healthy and good response to say, like, I'm in front of a classroom, someone hurts my feelings. It's not appropriate for me to break out crying in that moment. Like, some stuffing is okay. Like, but I've lately been learning, okay, how can I keep that almost like shallower? Like, using that mechanism when it is healthy is good, but also allowing myself to really pull that out. And yeah, I mean, there's just been a bunch of things I've been learning to like just bring those things to God before it's an explosion, and like breaking them down one at a time, like either through journaling or prayer or sitting with a friend, like any type of processing too. Yeah, like I don't know a word besides like unstuffing, but like unstuffing the
Yeah.
emotions. Like not, I think initially when I realized this pattern, I was like, I need to throw this out altogether. Like I have to
Hmm.
stop stuffing my emotions. Like I have to allow myself to feel. But that, I don't know, I kind of fell in these two different sides of like the ditch, but realizing that there's like a healthy, like this is a healthy thing. Like I can't automatically process every emotion that I feel, but some of the bigger ones like deserve to be taken out and like they need to be spent, like time needs to be spent with them. Um, yeah, but that's been like years in the process
Yeah.
of learning.
So giving yourself space to feel with God.
That's exactly how I feel. Just learning how to give myself space to feel and inviting God into those moments. And like, even in moments that I don't understand, like, why did I feel so sad about that? Like, that was sad. And it does like, deserve time to like feel that. But I felt way sadder than everyone else. Like, what's going on there? And just giving myself processing time and permission to like be different and unique and allow God to like speak into those spaces that are me that
Yeah.
I've been hiding from myself
Yeah.
forever. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Thank you so much for this conversation today, Kylie. I'm really grateful for you and for this time together today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Honestly, it's really fun.
Wasn't that such a beautiful conversation? I love how Kylie shared the story of her inedible curry with so much warmth and playful humor, while at the same time offering us such a gift of deep reflection and vulnerability. She reminded me that our limits, our needs, our own stories that we could tell just like this one are not an indication of our inadequacy, but our humanness. And the grace of God invites us to become so grounded in the loving gaze of Christ that we can live out the truth of our need without fear or shame. Until next week. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on Instagram at TaylorJoy. If this conversation was helpful and you'd like more information about my other offerings to engage your story more deeply, check out my website, taylorjoymurray.co.